So, what happens when you take a huge, sprawling, collaborative story and you just boil it down to its very core? Well, you get something way more focused, way more intense. And that's exactly what we're doing in this explainer. We're going to trace the dark, kind of twisted journey of this group of vampires as they try to navigate a pretty brutal world of gothic horror. We're kicking things off with this really chilling quote, delivered at a moment one of the characters calls karmic justice. And man, it just perfectly sets the tone, right? This isn't just a story about monsters with fangs. Nope. It's a story about morality, about power, and about the terrible, terrible punishments that are waiting for the wicked. And sometimes those punishments are delivered by things that are even more evil. All right, so our story kicks off on this remote, super hot island. A small group of vampires, what's known as a coterie, they find themselves trapped. And they're not just trying to survive. Oh no. They're about to dish out their own special brand of justice. And just take a look at who's in this group. You've got a doctor, Dr. Gabriel, a priest, Father Vaux, Alice, who's a seer, Tariq, the scholar, and Benedict, the recluse. I mean, what a crew, right? It's this wild mix of faith, science, and the supernatural, and all of them are bound by this vampiric curse. It's what makes them so formidable. So their whole journey into the island's darkness, it starts with what seems like a pretty noble cause. They're looking into this mysterious plague, this miasma that's spreading through the enslaved population. And that investigation leads them right to the front door of a seriously cruel plantation owner. And this is where things get intense. The confrontation, it just blows up. The owner, he completely dismisses them. But Dr. Gabriel, his vampire senses are picking up on some hidden evil inside the house. And in this moment of just righteous fury, he grabs the owner and forces his own cursed blood down the guy's throat. Just like that, the owner becomes a ghoul. The enslaver is now the enslaved. Talk about a twisted form of justice. But an act like that, it has immediate consequences. This quote right here really shows you the debate happening inside the group. Was this really justice, or was it just a power play? And maybe more importantly, how is the island's ruler, this Lady Cornwall, going to react when she finds out they've been messing with one of her important subjects? Yeah, they've definitely stirred up a hornet's nest. Because of what they did, staying on the island is just not an option anymore. They need to get out, and they need to get out fast. And that desperation, it leads them straight to a very cunning pirate captain who has well, let's call it a dangerous offer. And here's the deal laid bare. It's pretty stark. What the coterie wants is simple: safe passage to Mexico. But the pirate's price? Oh, it's steep. They have to betray the person who's been protecting them, Lady Cornwall, and hand over control of the island's fort to the pirates. I mean, it is the classic devil's bargain. And this simple quote, "I do not wish to be on this island very long," man, that says it all, doesn't it? The politics, the danger, the constant looking over your shoulder, it's just exhausting. Their desperation is the real driver here, pushing them to think about making a deal that could, very easily get them all killed for good. So they take the deal, they escape. But arriving in Havana, Cuba, well, that's no salvation. They've just swapped one dangerous game for another, much, much bigger one. They've landed in a city that's run by a very rigid, very ancient vampire society. Okay, so to get what's happening here, you absolutely have to understand the Camarilla. Think of them as the global government for vampires. They are all about order, tradition, and one absolute unbreakable law: the masquerade. The rule is you have to hide your existence from humanity, period. You break that law, you meet the final death. No exceptions. So, of course, they get dragged immediately before the city's ruler, the prince. And his words here are both a welcome and a very clear warning. Basically, you can survive here. You can even thrive, but only if you play by my rules and respect the old laws. But what's really fascinating is the prince's ambition. He sees Havana as this revolutionary project, right? A city where the so-called low clans, the outcasts of vampire society, can finally rule totally free from all the ancient, stuffy politics of Europe. He's offering our group a chance to be on the ground floor, to be founders of this brand new order. But just as they're starting to figure out this new political maze, something deeper, something way older starts to bubble up to the surface. Turns out, Havana isn't just a city of vampires. It's a city of ghosts.
So they try to settle in, find their place. They lean on their skills. Dr. Gabriel and the others, they set up an infirmary, treating the mortals of the city. They're carving out their own little piece of territory, a place of influence. But that fragile piece they're building, it's about to be completely shattered.
And the first crack in that piece comes through Alice, the seer. She has this terrifying vision, but it's not of the future. It's of a spectral past. She sees skeletons, draped in seaweed, rising from the sea, clutching rusty swords. It's this incredibly haunting image of some forgotten tragedy. And then, it gets so much worse. Her vision isn't just in her head anymore. A literal skeletal figure appears in the physical world and lunges for another vampire. The past isn't just haunting the present, it's physically bleeding into it, and it's violent. Dr. Gabriel, using his own unique senses, he confirms something is wrong. He feels it, he says, as a spiritual injury, a wound right in the city's cemetery. There's a focal point to all this haunting, a place where the barrier between our world and the next is weak. And that barrier has a name, the Shroud. It's the mystical veil that separates the world of the living from the realm of the dead. But here in Havana, that veil is getting dangerously thin. It's fraying, like old cloth. And for reasons nobody gets, the dead are starting to slip through. This is the real source of the city's haunting. And it's the core of the mystery they have to solve now.
So what's their plan? Well, it's about as direct as it is dangerous. First, they need to find a fetter. That's an object that anchors a spirit to our world. Then they're going to perform this ancient, probably very dangerous ritual to summon a ghost right out of the underworld. They're not just asking for answers anymore. They're going to rip them straight from the mouth of the dead. And that's where we leave it, with this final chilling question. The coterie came to Havana to get away from politics, but they've stumbled onto something way older and 1,000 times more dangerous. What forgotten massacre created this spiritual wound in the city? And in their desperate search for the truth, what price are they going to have to pay for forcing the dead back into the light?